To diagnose a defective blower, first thing we want to do is get the unit in an off position so we can start the test. The humidity control, we want to make sure that's in the off position, so we'll turn that counterclockwise. And then the fan switch, we want to have the bottom of it pushed in. That'll turn it to the auto position and make sure it's off. Then after that, if you don't have it plugged in already, we want to make sure it's plugged in. If you have a lamp or a drill or something like that you can plug into it to make sure that the outlet that you're plugging the dehumidifier in works, that's a good test for that, basically verifying power. So this outlet here we verified, we're going to go ahead and plug that in. The next step would be to simply turn the fan switch on. When we turn the fan switch on, the blower should come on. So we'll turn that. In this case, the blower did not come on. So we could suspect that the blower is bad, but just to make sure, we want to turn this humidity control clockwise. We hear the click to the on position. The blower should also turn on in that case. If it did not turn on, you might just have gotten a slight hum or vibration where the compressor turned on. That'll let us know that the blower is suspected of being bad. Other problems with the blower, if you have like a rubbing noise, a grinding noise, possibly low airflow out of the back, that could suspect that a blower is actually bad. If you turn the unit around, you may be able to see the blower. It's a big black disc in the back, but also removing this back cover here, you just want to make sure the blower spins freely or whatnot. If it's bounced in any way, you want to try to get that freed up. But that's how to diagnose a defective blower. For replacing the blower, you'll need a T20 Torx bit. Either you can have it on the drill like we have here, or a regular screwdriver T20 Torx bit. We'll need a pair of diagonal cutters or dikes. Then we'll need a 1/4 inch ratchet with a long extension and a 3/8 deep socket. Then we'll also need a Phillips head screwdriver, and you want a screwdriver that has a long shaft. Before starting any repairs, you want to make sure that the dehumidifier is safe. Please unplug the unit before starting any repairs. To remove the cabinet, you'll need a T20 Torx, either a regular screwdriver bit T20 Torx or a T20 Torx on a drill. Makes it a lot quicker and easier. First thing to do is remove the filter. You may have a pre-filter in here, but remove that filter, and then there's 12 screws to remove. There's 3 for the back cabinet, 3 for the bottom here, and then another 6 on the back in the same location. So we'll go ahead and take those loose. So remove the back cabinet first. So just pull up and off, set that aside. And then we're going to work on these bottom screws here. Another 3 on the back. And what you want to do is actually pull the bottom of the cabinet out on both sides, flex it open slightly, pull it up and off. To remove the blower, first we have to remove some parts out of the way. Obviously in the back here we have the blower. If we feel that's bad, obviously we need to replace it, but it's mounted in the back by 4 screws back here. You can't see them right now, so we're gonna have to unplug the blower and also move this electrical box out of the way. It's simple to do, we just got to get it out of the way first. So first step would be to remove this electrical box. There's 2 screws at the top and 1 down here at the bottom. Use our T20 Torx bit. Move those 3 screws. Box just comes off like that. Then there's a white connector down here. That's the blower connector. It's just has 2 little tabs on the end. Just kind of pinch them. Some more than here. pinch those. Pull that out. You can kind of see here, you just kind of pinch the ends here, and those little tabs will release to unplug it. We can move to the side here, and we also need to get this white connector out of the back. To do that, there's some wires kind of stuffed in the back here that we'll need to get out. There's a little zip tie here that we'll need to cut. Just a pair of regular Dyke pliers. Get that loose. That'll free those wires up from the blower harness. And then using a flathead screwdriver, there's some tabs in the center here that you'll just have to press in. And the blower should come out, the blower harness. Get the back out and pry the side out. So we got that out. You got these little tabs in the center here. That's what you're prying on. Get that out. So now the blower harness is loose. Next step would be to get the electrical box out of the way so we can get to the screws that mount the blower. There is 3/8 nuts down at the bottom here. You can kind of see them. So with a deep socket 3/8 ratchet or 1/4 inch ratchet, 3/8 drive socket, just take those loose. So another nut on the back side here. It does have 2 ground wires underneath it. That off, and then we just slide the 2 ground wires up. We get little eyelets on them. Slide the electrical box up, and we'll just kind of set it off to the side here. This will gain us access to these 4 screws. It's helpful to have a long Phillips head screwdriver. Just kind of go in here, take those 4 screws out. The blower will come loose here. There are lock washers on the back of these screws, so make sure you keep those. So now that we got you can see the blower's loose now off that bracket. What you want to do is get your harness, and there's a square hole there that you can just feed that harness out through. And then there's our blower. To install the blower, make sure you have your good new blower here. Got your good harness. The harness here matches up with the connector that's here. This blower has a little ridge right in the center that will engage into this hole that's in the bracket down here. So you can see that. When you put it in there, you want to kind of hang it on that little ridge, and that'll help center it for you. The blower harness itself, there's a kind of a square rectangle hole at the bottom that'll be needed to be fed through for proper orientation. So we'll just go ahead and get the harness through. Slide that through. The edges are kind of sharp, so be kind of gentle. Don't drag the wire across the metal too much. Just kind of slide it in there. And then we have the little ridge centering it for us. You may have to shift the blower a little bit to get the screw holes to line up. You can just kind of hold the back of the harness a little bit and move it left to right. We'll get our Phillips head screws with the lock washer, and we'll just start a couple start all of them before we tighten them down. Make sure that we can get them all in there. Got the last one here. What we still want to do is try to get that, just to help out so we don't pinch anything, get that center piece, kind of hold the side of the blower, get that center ridge there and set in there correctly. And we'll just go ahead and tighten down all these screws. Again, they're small screws. You want to get them snug. Don't get them too tight. You can actually strip them. Small screws, they don't need that much torque. Make sure the lock washer is compressed flat, and then make sure you got a good tight to it. Next step would be to reinstall the electrical box. We want to make sure is we got some green ground wires in the back. We also have some other wires in the back here. We want to make sure we don't pinch those when we set this down. So just be mindful of that. We'll just set it right on top of the studs here on the side. And then we have this other stud behind here. We'll just set that down, check forward and back, make sure we're not pinching any wires, and it should be good there. We have these two ground wires with the eyelets. We want to make sure we get that on that stud that's on the left side here. Just kind of push those down over that stud. Then we have those 3/8 lock nuts, and we'll just thread that down. Got the other two here that go on the side. Using that 3/8 deep socket again, tighten those down. All right, and these bolts are kind of small. Don't have to get them overly torqued, just good and snug will work just fine. The next step would be we're going to get this harness piece inside the electrical box here. It's pretty easy. You got the little tabs, you're just going to push it in, those will engage, and that should lock it in. Just make sure you got both sides engaged, and you want to pull on it a little bit, make sure you got a good positive lock. The next step was have a little bit extra wire here, and then all we do is there's a black grommet at the bottom. Just push that extra wire, just kind of make a U bend on it, push it in through that black grommet like so, just to kind of take care of the excess. And then we're just going to put a zip tie here just to hold all those wires together. Cut the excess off. And then to hook the blower back up to the main wiring harness, you have the white connector in the back here. There's somewhat of a D-shaped slot on the end connectors here, the end little pieces. Just want to kind of look at the one that's on the inside that we just put in. Make sure you got the orientation right, so you can get that hooked in. Just push it in. You want to kind of push on the top, push on the bottom, make sure those little tabs on the side are engaged, and then kind of pull on it a little bit, make sure it doesn't come loose. You got a good positive lock. It's always a good idea, since we've been in here messing with the wires, just kind of take a real quick view to make sure you don't see any loose wires or anything like that missing. Looks like here we've looked okay, nothing loose, everything's on there pretty good. So we're good there. And then next step would just be install this cover. It'll just fit over the top. You may have to squeeze the sides of the electrical box a little bit. Get that into position. Then we have a screw at the bottom here. Like before, just kind of start them loosely. Just go ahead and tighten down. And at this point, the blower is installed, thing spins, installation is complete. To reinstall the top cover, first thing you'll need to do is just get the top cover. You want to, as before, you want to have this oriented correctly. The back space here actually goes to the back of the machine, so opposite of this coil in the front. What you want to do to set it down, you'll actually kind of spread open the bottom of the cabinet a little bit, and you want to kind of slide it over the top. To make sure you got it oriented properly, there's some galvanized metal pieces here. These need to be in front of this black coil here. And then there's a little white tab here that you want to make sure is in front of the cabinet or the bottom cabinet in this location. So looks like we're pretty good here. There's some little bins at the bottom that we'll want to get underneath the unit. Kind of get everything set down in place. Kind of turn it to the side. Sometimes it's nice to kind of hang it over the table a little bit. That'll make that little bend at the bottom a little bit easier to work with. And then just make sure you got your holes lined up to the threads. Just start putting the screws in on one side loosely. Using the T20 Torx bit for screw these down, and these are small screws. They're also stainless, so not a lot of torque is needed. Just get them good and snug. Got that side. We'll move to the opposite side. Again, having it over an edge of a table works out nice. Get that lined up. Screw holes there. Alrighty, now that we got those 6 screws in, kind of turn to the back here and we'll get the little exhaust bracket on. In this particular model, this little angle piece here can go on this way or it can go on this way, depending if you want the air to come up out of the unit or if you want to go have the air come right out of the back. Generally, the unit's shipped in this position where the air comes out of the back. That's the most common, but if you wanted to change it, it'd be a good point too. Kind of same as before, we just have 3 screws on this side. You want to just try to get the holes lined up. There we go. The cover's installed, but we just have the filter here we want to put back in. On the side of your filter, you should see some arrows or whatnot, or the dirtier side or whatnot will be out. So in this one, this is a new filter, but we'll just kind of shove it up underneath. I got a little lip here, shove it up underneath, and then rock the bottom in there. All right, after you've changed the blower, you want to verify that everything's working correctly. So the first thing to do, if you haven't already, make sure the humidity control is in the off position, the fan switch is in the auto position. Make sure the unit's off for right now, and then we're going to go ahead and plug the unit in, but we want to verify power. Make sure if you have like a light a lamp or a light bulb or a drill that you can plug into the socket that you're going to plug the unit into to verify the power is good. So we've already verified the power is good. We'll go ahead and plug it in. We have the controls off, so you should not turn on. So to test the blower, it's as easy as this. We have the fan switch here. We should be able to turn that to the on position. The blower should start up. You should feel air coming out of the back. You shouldn't hear any rubbing or scraping noises. That would, designate a problem or whatnot, but going through this process will verify the blower for you.